We cannot talk of risk without talking of hazards. A hazard exists where a substance, an object, or a situation has a built-in ability to cause an adverse effect. Risk, on the other hand, is the chance that such an effect will occur. The risk can be high or negligible. And what we must recognize is that for harm to occur in practice, there must be both the hazard and the exposure to that hazard. Without both of these at the same time, there is no risk. For example, stairs are a hazard. The likelihood of injury is known as the risk. A tiger in a cage is still a hazard. Putting your hand into the cage is risky. In order to assess risk, both the hazard and the exposure must be considered. Some hazards are only significant if we do something in large amounts or for long periods of time. In fact, the first rule of toxicology is that all substances produce an effect, but it is the dose that decides whether the effects are adverse or beneficial. We carry out risk assessments constantly in one form or another. Crossing the road or caring for our family, we make judgments about the hazards involved and assess the risk before taking action. Similarly, there are risks in activities that companies carry out and in the products they make. Sources of risk can be financial markets, project failures, legal liabilities, credit risks, accidents, natural causes, deliberate attacks, etc. So there are many sources. A major principle of risk management is to avoid any real risk of a catastrophe at any reasonable cost. If there is a small but significant chance for a catastrophe, then the regular expected value calculations do not apply. The difficulty of applying this principle comes from the uncertainty of what is a real risk and what is a reasonable cost. It's a very difficult thing. When assessing risks, we must dismiss extremely remote or unrealistic probabilities. For example, each year, 10,000 television sets catch fire, but we continue to buy televisions. 100,000 people walk through plate glass, but we still use glass doors. 125,000 amateurs injure themselves with power tools, yet we buy power tools. 70,000 children are injured by toys, but we buy toys. 8,000 people are poisoned by aspirin, but we have to take aspirin because of the beneficial effects. And finally, there is one chance in 4,000 of dying in a car crash, but yet millions of us drive cars. When we talk of decision making and risk, there are two areas of concern. One is you, the decision maker. You will always be biased, you will always have feelings. The other is the changing environment, the uncertainties that surround us in the environment. If you recall, we touched on this earlier, that when we deal with uncertainties, we need to consider the following: the likelihood or the probability of the event occurring, the likely or probable consequences associated with the event, and the magnitude. And finally, the level of tolerance, which is the organization's ability to accept the consequences. Often the outcome is represented numerically, but it does not need to represent dollars or even physical units. A 10 could be units of happiness, pleasure, electoral votes, and so forth. Thus, we need to use what is called a utility value. That means how useful something is to you. The best way to discuss this utility value is to consider a rich man and a poor man. And if we offer a $5,000 raffle ticket with the chance of winning another $1 million, the poor man would not participate because that's half his worth, but the rich man would. Another example, if I were to say that I'll give you $5,000 to wash my car, the rich man would not accept it, even though it still means $5,000 in money terms, but its utility value is very small to a rich man. So examples of utility value could be money, fun, votes, calories, that's for somebody trying to reduce weight, points, frequent flyer miles, etc. And why do some people pursue dangerous sports like skiing, skydiving, race car driving, and so forth? It's because the risk-benefit ratio is acceptable to them. Also, we humans are not always rational. What is common to all these companies? Here we see Apple, Intel, Google, Yahoo. All are IT companies and all are based in the Silicon Valley. But what's unique about Silicon Valley? Well, that this red circle shows where all these companies are. And you can see the red line, which is known as the San Andreas Fault. Years of studies have provided definitive proof, and all experts, without an exception, agree that it is a matter of if, but not when, that a large earthquake would occur in this zone. In fact, you can see the probabilities are very, very high, 99% sometimes. The data is irrefutable, yet more and more companies are investing and moving into this region. Why? Because they have developed methods that are tolerant of earthquake. The business model that casinos in Las Vegas use is based on probability, dealing with uncertainties, and we know their game plan very well. To conclude this discussion, let's talk about strategies to manage risk. First, transfer the risk. This is what we do when we insure. We pay someone else to carry part of the risk. This is particularly important if the risk is very great. The next strategy is to avoid the risk. For example, if you're swimming in the sea, you may swim in an area where sharks are not frequent. 3. Eliminate or reduce the negative effects. For example, when it's rain, the dentist places an apron on the patient to reduce exposure to radiation. Finally, we can accept the risk with contingency planning. Basically, we develop a plan to minimize its effects if it happens. A good contingency plan will allow you to take action immediately. Well, that's it for this discussion.